Sweet, sweet girl. What you doing, Hazy? Good morning. What you do, Hazel? What you do? What you do, Hazel? You exit? There you go. Good morning. Man, I did a lot of work this weekend. I'm pretty tired. Waiting for some more viewers to join in. Two more viewers and then I'll start. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to start. Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a nice weekend. So I have a couple of announcements. The triad ended on Friday. Okay. And so I graded all of the assignments from computer science, and they're all in the grade book. So if you hadn't submitted an assignment, you're going to have some zeros in the grade book. So what you need to do if you submit an assignment that was late, and I have not graded it yet, you need to send me a Canvas message, not an email, not a remind message, a Canvas message to tell me which assignment parentheses S you submitted, okay? Because I don't get a notification when someone submits an assignment late. So you have to be my notification so I know to look. And if you want it to go on the triad, you need to submit that to me by noon today, okay? Or actually, let's say just by the end of the school day, so 2:30 today. All right. So anything that is submitted late, I won't know about it unless you tell me via a Canvas message. The second thing is I wrote a midterm this weekend for you guys. It's 10 questions. You type in the answer. All the answers are numerical, so you just type in the correct number. Okay. So I'm giving you guys 60 minutes once you start it. Yeah, you can do that as well. If you did any of the code board stuff, you can do a Canvas message. So yeah, there's going to be a quiz. It's not available to you right now, but it will be available on Wednesday. It is once you start it, you have 60 minutes. It's 10 questions. Okay. And you have a week to complete that. So it's due on the 21st, I believe. 21st is the following Wednesday. All right. So those are my 2 announcements. And so let's go ahead and get started. Zoom in a lot here. Today, we are going to be talking about the file class. Okay. So file is a Java class, and I suspect that you're going to find the file class to be really useful for your internal assessments. You guys are all going to have to do a programming project of your choice for your internal assessment, and files might be a big part of that. So the file class is in Java, and basically the file class is not an actual file on your computer, okay? It's a representation of the file within a program. By the way, this lesson, these next 3 assignments are going to be the same for both HL and SL. So everyone pay attention to this. Okay, so it's a representation of the file within a program. So if you want to declare a file object within the program, you say file, let's say F equals new file, parentheses, path. And so the path is a string, okay? I should say this is called the relative path. Okay. So this is a string that's going to have the name of the file in it. Okay. So, if you want, and by the way, file could represent an actual file, or it could represent a folder. So both of those are in the file class. So for example, if it is an actual file that's going to store data, it should have an extension on it. So maybe your path is going to be, I don't know, maybe file.txt. Okay, so this would be a file, and it's going to. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that for now. And then if it's a folder, it's going to have no extension. So you could just call it, folder. But this is a string, so it needs to be in quotations. Okay. If you want to, so let's say you want to create file.txt within the folder, then you would put the path as folder / file.txt. Okay. So basically the actual name of the file is going to be file.txt, but it's within the folder. Okay. So if you want to go up a directory, okay, then you use / file.txt. Okay, so we're going to see how all this works. And once I go over to um, the actual IDE. All right. So there are a couple of methods that I think are going to be most useful. Okay. And I've written these methods up here. All right. So by the way, I just want to switch to the Java documentation really fast. So here's the Java documentation for the file class. So if you want to use the file class, you have to have this import statement, java.io.file, and then the compiler will know that you're going to be using the file class. So here's the constructor that we're going to be using for the file class. So you have a string path name, as I said. So what are the important methods? There's basically 5 methods that I think are going to be most important. The first one is going to be create new file. So what does the create new file do? It basically, the create new file is going to actually make the file. Okay, so remember how I said that it's the file object is a representation of a file or a folder within the program. That file or folder may not actually exist on your computer, but if you do the create new file method, it's going to actually exist on your computer now. Okay. So if you do create new file, that's going to make a file. Okay. If you do mkdir for make directory, that's going to make a folder. Okay. So if I was doing folder, I would call, f dot make directory. Okay. But if I'm creating a file that, then I'm going to do f dot create new file. Okay. You can you call the delete method to remove the file. Okay. One that I think might also be useful, if you want to create a temporary file. Okay. If you want to create a temporary file that is only there while your program is running, you can call the delete on exit method. And so what that will do is when your program is done running, it will delete that file. Okay? So it's only going to be present while the program is running, and then once the program is done running, it goes away. List is quite useful. Okay? So let's go to the documentation for list just to explain what it does. So list is going to return a string array, and it returns an array of strings naming the files and directories within this path name. Okay, so it's basically going to give you an array of all the different files and folders that are within this folder. So it doesn't really make sense to say something like, if you have a file.txt, it doesn't really make sense to call list on a file, but it does make sense to call list on a folder, okay, because a folder actually has things in it. So you would basically only call this on a folder. Okay. So I am going to I am going to go ahead and switch over to I'm going to minimize. So things are going to look really trippy for just a second here while I do this. Whoops. So I'm recording my desktop right now. Okay, so I've got a, let me just double check that you guys can see that. Cool, you guys can see that. I'm recording my desktop. And so I've got a, what did I do? So I'm going to be programming in Genie today. You need, in order to do files, you need to do an IDE on your computer. CodeBoard does not have the ability to do files. Okay, so that's an important point. So I've got a folder called Programming on my computer, and the programming folder has a file called practice.java. So here is that folder. Okay, here's the programming folder on my computer. So you can see, I'm just going to comment some of this stuff out. So I imported files. Okay, and actually what you want to do probably is just import the entire Java input-output library. So I just put a star here. That imports everything. Okay, so I imported input-output library. Okay, so you got to have that. Any method that uses files has to throw input-output exceptions. So basically, you just include this little line of code. And the reason, so what an exception is it halts the flow of the program because something went wrong. And when you're creating a file, it could go wrong. Okay, so you need to be able to throw an input-output exception. So methods using files must throw input-output exception. Okay, otherwise you're going to get a compile error. Okay, so I have 5 file declarations. Okay, and the first one is for a file called data.txt. Okay, now what Java is going to do is it's going to create the file in the same folder as your code. So if I just say data.txt, then it's going to create a file called data.txt in my programming folder because that's the same folder as practice.java. Okay. B, I can see, so this will be created in the same folder as practice.java. That's the name of the program that I'm running right now, or that I'm going to run. File B is a directory because it doesn't have an extension. Okay. C is a file that uses the ... and so ... means directory above. So so this is going to create file1.txt in the folder above the folder holding practice.java. Okay, so if I go to my programming folder and I hit back, I can see that the programming folder is in, my home directory. So it's going to create file 1 within the outer folder, okay? And you could keep going. I mean, you could even do ... /... That would be the folder above the folder above, but we're not going to do that. Right here, we have folder / file2.txt. So this is going to create file 1 or file2.txt within the folder. So the folder that is in line 9. And then this, in line 12 here, we're going to create a folder within the folder. Okay? So if I just compile this, it compiles fine, and when I run it, it doesn't do anything, okay? Because as I said, this is just a representation of these files within the program. So they don't actually exist in reality. So I have to use the create new file methods or the make directory methods to actually have them show up, okay? So I'm going to uncomment this part, okay? And you can see I called create new file or make directory. So if it has an extension, I use the create new file, and if it is a folder, then I use the make directory method. So I called that for each of these files. So now when I run the program and I run it, it actually made these files. So see how next to practice.java, I now have data.txt. I now have folder. Within the folder is file2.txt and folder2. Okay? If I go above my programming folder, you can see I now have file1.txt. So what I've done is I've gone from just representing the files in the program to actually making the files in reality. Okay? Here's something that's nice. Let's call c.delete on exit. Okay? Let's see what that does. So here's file1.txt. I run the program. Run the program. And see how it's gone now? So file1.txt is now gone because the program ended, and when it ended, it deleted that file. Okay, so it kind of cleaned up after itself. That's nice. All right, so now let's go ahead and use the list method. Okay, so I have an array of strings that is b.list. Okay, so it's going to list all of the files within my folder. Okay, so what should be in there? Well, here's my folder right here. And I can see it has a file 2.txt and it has folder 2. Okay, so this string should hold file 2.txt and folder 2. Okay, so now I created a scanner. And then I have system.out.println arrays.toString. And so we're just going to display what are the contents of the file array that I defined. and then I have the user input something, and then I get the user's input. Okay, so let's run this program. Okay, and so I can see in the terminal down here, you can see file2.txt and folder2 are both output. Now, why did I say input something? Okay, why did I say input something? The reason that I did that is because I wanted to delay the program ending. So you can see that file 1 is here because the program hasn't ended yet. But for file 1, I have delete on exit. Okay. So it's gonna go away once I, oops. It's gonna go away once I type something in and hit enter. Now the program has completed, and so now we can see that the file is gone. Okay, so that's my little introduction. Things are gonna look crazy for a second. That's my little introduction to files, okay? Next time we're gonna learn how to read files and write to files, okay? So I will go ahead and see you in the Zoom room. Okay, bye for now.